you'll get a notification
It
just to
got it.
warn you, just in case you didn't think I was going to
Okay.
record this and we were just going to talk for an hour. So,
That's fine with me. We'll see if how in the world we can make me interesting or not. So,
I find that shocking that you think you're not interesting. But
well, I've been on several where, well, I'll play the Captain Lovehandles character, or
right.
and do art, or do a creativity thing, or whatever. But it's fun to, or sit and talk about abandonment or something like that. It's this is cool. I did a Dennis Ball show where we the whole thing was discussing one single album by Dinosaur Jr. and that was pretty fun. So anyway,
That's perfect. I like that. Okay. Well, if you're good to go, we shall get going.
okay,
Welcome to Yelling at Concrete podcast.
excellent.
We're already in. We're already recording. So,
Well,
I
welcome
mean,
to the Yelling at Concrete podcast, everybody. Here's my friend Graham Cooling, and take it away.
this is strange. I never actually introduced myself on my show. I just
Right,
assume the audience knows who I am, and the guest I have knows who I am to some extent.
right,
Um, I mean, I guess as much as you can from receiving a random email from me maybe 3 months ago,
right. Yeah,
which is, yeah, I mean, how I came across it. Granted, I came across you because you were recommended by another person I had on the show,
oh
which
really?
is,
It would have been Black Moth Society, I suppose. um
it was definitely,
he's
yeah,
great. He's awesome, and he's moving over to our side of the country, apparently.
yes. Come and join us on the East Coast.
That's right.
So you're based down in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, right?
You've been
And
there
he's
your entire time?
Yes, well, I was born in Noonan, Georgia, which is uh, the famous birthplace of country singer Alan Jackson. And so and we were, friends in high school or whatever. And so, and went to college in South Georgia, and then moved back up to Atlanta. Worked with my brother in a graphic design advertising company. Um, and then I worked in my own business, and then I've worked doing pre-press graphic design for a printing company, and just doing art and all kinds of music and weird stuff on the side. So
And the rest is history.
kind of how it is. It is history. Yeah.
I mean, that leads us to my first question, which
Okay.
should be easy to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you?
Oh, hi everyone. My name is Jas Ingram. AS, which, if you don't know, is an abbreviation for the name James.
I didn't
Uh,
know.
used to say, look in the phone book, and if someone's name is James, it'll say JAS. But you don't look in the phone book anymore. So, like Chaz is Charles, Jas is the same as James. So my name is James Ingram. There was already a singer named James Ingram, so that was taken. So anyway, Jas Ingram, and I go by Captain Lovehandles all over, Instagram and Facebook, YouTube, and wherever else. So that's who I am, and I'm a cartoonist, an illustrator. I'm a licensed Rat Fink artist, and also play in some bands, Possum Kingdom Ramblers, which we call a nerdgrass band, and do some crazy weird stuff, and also in When Ukuleles Attack with my friends Kaz and Cynthia, and my hero Sarsaparilla the Singing Gorilla. And let me go ahead and tell you, on YouTube you can find the Adventures of Sarsaparilla the Singing Gorilla movie in 4 parts on YouTube, and it's awesome. So anyway, he's a friend of mine, and I'm in a band with him. So that's kind of what I do. I kind of throw things at the wall, and anything creative that sticks, that's where we go. So
I like that attitude. You had the kind of moniker of every time I kind of scratched at like your name to find out, more information about you after being recommended you. I kept just finding more things you were doing.
right,
It was like
yeah,
the initial like, oh, okay, so it's Captain Love Handles, and then it's licensed to do Rat Fink and extra things. It's like, oh, does music as well. Okay.
right, that's right. And
There's
Black Moth Society sent me one of his. Oh, he's got these new magnets which are sculpted. Let me make sure I'm holding it the right way. Oh, looks like this. Can you see that? Wow.
That's
So
fantastic.
he put some he was going to hide on the East Coast for people to find, but he sent me
Mhm.
one because I was one of his OG followers, and he pretty well blew up, didn't he? And wound up with lots of, I don't know if you're like me, but if I have 100 reactions to something I put on Instagram, I go, man, 100 reactions, that's a lot.
It's
So
mad. Yeah. I get that vibe of everyone. It's like gets 20 likes, and I'm like, oh, 20
right,
likes.
right. Hey,
I think that's so hard to gauge now, though.
somebody like
Like, I mean,
you.
obviously you've been doing this for a while, so presumably you've had like audience interactions with that number of people at some point.
True. Yeah, and there are groups, through Possum Kingdom Ramblers and through, I played ukulele. I started playing ukulele after I got back from a trip to Hawaii, and so there's a whole culture there, and this group and that group, and then you find people on Instagram. I try to find other cartoonists and cool artists and interesting people on Instagram, and sometimes you find somebody that just appreciates you for what you do. There are people who I've got some friends who support me, 5 friends who will support me no matter what I do. But to find somebody who doesn't know you, who appreciates you, that's a valuable thing to me. And then so if you get 20 of those, that's a wonderful thing, right?
I mean, the people who kind of get what you do, I think, is maybe one of the harder things to do. So
Right.
you can get interactions, but having someone understand what you're making
Hmm.
is a whole new level of audience interaction.
Right. Right. And I appreciate that too. And I seek out those people. I seek out those, cartoonists and sculptors and whatever, because I want to find people to appreciate. And a lot of times people who have so many likes and they got so many followers, I'll tend to think this is a poor way to go about it, but I'll tend to think they don't need my like.
Yeah.
They've already got 2,000. But I enjoy supporting people whom I enjoy.
I mean, that's the best way to go about art, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, would you say that your stuff's niche? I guess.
Would would you call it? Would you say that it's at all lowbrow art? I
I
try to do spacey stuff. I try to develop weird characters of my own.
Mhm.
Um, gosh, I don't know. I really do. I really do things that I like, and I'm not trying to draw people in by that they're so. There are a million pictures every day put up of Wolverine or Spider-Man, and I love Spider-Man, so I'll draw him sometime, but I'm not trying to prostitute myself in that way. I mean, they're a great comic artist. I appreciate them too. So
No, I respect that greatly. I think this is an approach I've always tried to take with the stuff I make of just wanting to make what you want to make, because
hmm
then at the end of the day, you feel more proud of it. You feel like
hmm
you haven't had to bend or cater to something else just
right.
to make something, I guess.
I
Has that
made
always been your
uh,
approach?
I wrote a song, on my YouTube channel. I've got some
Hmm.
some original songs there, and the one video that's done real well, it's got over 30,000 views, is a song about the Mexican wrestler El Santo, and
Hmm.
it's in kind of Spanglish, and you have the analytics there, and it's all adolescent boys in Mexico who watch the thing. But that's kind of fun. At least I can say, hey, I wrote a song and it's got 30,000 people watched 20 seconds of it or whatever. So, you know,
I like that. I like picking kind of like not niche interest, but something with like a passionate fan base which
right.
isn't necessarily in the mainstream. I mean, we spoke briefly before about kind of Star Wars, and and that to me, like you mentioned with fan art, it seems like a very easy target of
Right.
if I make this and post it, it's Star Wars. Star Wars fans will like it regardless of looking too much into it.
Mhm.
Whereas something a bit more niche like Mexican wrestling, where there is a passionate fan base, but it's not worldwide
Right.
I don't know, I feel like you'll get that better audience interaction. I don't
Yeah,
know, I don't know if culture allows that now.
right. I do love Star Wars. And I like Star Trek, and I like sci-fi, and I like old movies and things like that. So
Mhm.
I'm I'm all in favor of anything Star Wars. I guess that kind of goes against what I said, but man, I enjoy that stuff so much.
I mean, I have the same. Anything Batman,
Really, I
anything
love that.
Batman related. Yeah,
Yeah, there's that guy here. You see
see him
him?
in the background. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Batman and Robin poster over there. So Batman 66 has kind of become something I've really, really gotten into lately. The McFarlane Batman 66 toys. Well, I love the TV show. Here's the thing: I'm a 63-year-old granddad, so it's not like I'm not trying to get on TikTok and get followers, right? Because I'm at a point where you know I'll do it, and if you like it, you like it. So that Batman 1966 Batman was my childhood, and my brother and I would jump in front of the TV set with towels around our necks and watch that thing, underwear pulled over your pajama bottoms, So that's
And
how we.
you know it's too old for that. There's a photograph I have which I'm very dear to me of just me in a full Batman costume, just as a child stood between my grandparents, and
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the best vivid memories I have as a kid. Of
Isn't
just
that
like,
great?
yeah, I can move as far away from Batman as I want, and I can look at the new stuff and go, okay, well, it's all gritty and edgy now and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, deep in my heart, I'm like, it's Batman. I
I know
appreciate
it.
Batman.
I know it. And I had friends who said, "Don't watch Superman versus Batman movie because it's terrible." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I liked Man of Steel. I liked Superman, Batman. I liked Justice League,
Hmm.
like all the Marvel movies." So I'm into all that. So
It has the key word in it, which
yeah,
is Batman,
right,
which means I'm probably going to pay attention to it.
right. Plus, it had Wonder Woman in it too. So, and I wasn't ready for that. So there's that.
Friend of mine did find a DVD recently in a thrift shop, which was animated episode of Scooby Doo and Batman. And
Yeah,
they messaged to me saying, "Should I get this?" But yes, you need to buy that. It's $1.50.
right. I got a Scooby Doo mask hanging on the wall over there. So that's
Has
all that
this
stuff.
has this ever like waned your interest in all of these kind of things, or has this been just constant since you were younger and through to now?
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's ever waned. I really started buying comic books when I was in college. I had some cousins who always had them and stuff. I always loved
Mhm.
superheroes. When I was in college, was going on a trip to Florida with some friends for the weekend, and we swung into a convenience store to get some snacks. And I said, "Hey, here's Spider-Man comic book." So I grabbed it, and it was a really good one to grab. It was awesome, and so I read that. And then my roommate got back to college after Christmas, and I showed it to him, and we just got turned on to comic books. Uh, it's been that kind of culture ever since. And I'll tell you what, the band Possum Kingdom Ramblers that I'm in, they've got me involved in Toylanta, which is a big toy convention in Atlanta. And our band plays there every year, but I also have helped out some there in the past with the people who put it on. And gotten to know a bunch of geeky, cool people through that. And there's all sorts of cool stuff happening here. So cool art and whatever tiki stuff, um, but there's a good bunch of toy collectors, and they have swap meets and stuff like that. There's the Georgia Alliance of Star Wars collectors and stuff like that. So there's plenty to do.
There's always stuff to do, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I find collectors are very interesting characters,
Yeah.
just to me because they're so passionate
Mm-hmm.
about every detail. And I mean, my personality is fairly scatty to begin with, but to be so detail orientated,
Mm-hmm.
just it amazes me because I'm like, I mean, these people, and I'm just like, yeah, these you care so much about this, and
Right.
it's amazing to see. Yeah.
Do you have any weird collections or strange things you?
Um, I don't think I have any. I'd say I don't have a consistent collection of anything. That's
Hmm.
usually the way it ends up being. I've tried collecting things in the past. I've had,
Right.
said to myself, I'm going to collect this one type of thing. I think initially, Batman fell into that category of I'm going to collect Batman related things.
Hmm.
And I recently went on a trip to San Diego and I was thinking, oh, well, when I travel, I should collect something from
Hmm.
wherever I go. But I have no consistent collection. Usually it's just something catches my eye and I think, yeah, that's interesting.
I've got a Batman shelf, but I've got Batman toys, and some of it is really, it's really cool. But I will kind of collect the ones I want and say, okay, that's enough, and not have to worry about being completist. And I've got like a bunch of vintage Star Wars stuff that I've really started collecting sort of recently, but I'm surprised to find how affordable some of it is. But I've been getting some of that, and I had the Mexican wrestler El Santo I talked about, El Santo and Blue Demon. I pulled some stuff. These are them. These are they. This is El Santo. He has a silver mask and Blue Demon like that. And I've got, so I found this guy. I started collecting these things, and I found this guy in Mexico through Instagram, and he had the most incredible collection. So I would, whenever I got like an extra, like if I did a drawing for somebody and I wound up with an extra $100, I say, "What have you got for me on vintage stuff from Mexico?" So I've got this motorcycle Blue Demon, which is cool, and this beautiful thing here, which is astronaut El Santo, which is
So
cool.
cool.
And these are some
Hmm.
vintage from Mexico. And I got involved with these are DVDs of some of the movies. This is the best one, El Santo versus the Vampire Women.
That
El
cover is
Santo
incredible.
Las Mujeres Vampiro. And they this one's good because it has subtitles. They
Okay.
don't all, but I've got various ones. Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and Wolfman. It's Santo y Blue Demon contra Dracula y el Hombre Lobo. So that's kind of cool. Wax Museum, Santo and
Wow,
Blue Demon.
this really, like, universe wise, this goes quite deep in terms of the things
Yeah,
you've taken on.
there were Santo comic books and everything too. So those were, and but then you start collecting things like that, and you get to be known as the Luchador guy, and then people will give me the Luchador bottle openers, and I got a Luchador salt and pepper shaker, Luchador thumb puppets, thumb wrestling guys. People would go, okay, he's Luchador guy, let's give him something for Luchador. But you wind up, but that's kind of, I was collecting. And I got a shelf packed full, but then I'm at, unless I see something incredible, but I'm kind of at a place where I've got a good collection now,
Keep it
and
enough.
it'll all be worth $5. So
I was gonna say, like, does your interest in collecting things and interest in kind of pop culture and stuff like that, does that extend to where you are thinking about value, or is it literally just this is something which interests me?
no, I'm not. I'm I've got I collect. I buy toys to play with them, and so I've got the Outer Spacemen. I don't know if you're familiar with them. There's an interesting story there. These space toys that were made. Look at this guy here. He's like a Metaluna mutant, but he was one of them. Um, I found these guys. I don't know. I saw something online. This one's beautiful here, and it's got a this helmet, but this thing on the top turns and he changes and has three faces. So that's pretty cool.
Really?
I found that and
Hmm.
I go, man, where have these toys been all my life? But what it was the Major Matt Mason toys from the 60s, space toys. They were astronaut guys and they were bendy figures. And so these were made by Color Forms, not these, but the bendy outer spaceman to play the same scale with Matt Mason in the late 60s. And then man went to the moon. And so space had been conquered and everything had been done. There were no more space toys made until Star Wars came out. So everything kind of just went away. So people who know toys know outer spacemen. I didn't
Hmm.
until several years ago, but most folks don't. So that's kind of niche,
It is.
but they're cool space guys. I love that.
Definitely. I, it makes me kind of sad that there is, series and IPs and whatnot, which like that, which must have come out 60s, 70s, 80s, and all the way up to the 90s now, where they just kind of came and went
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of disappeared. I think this is a conversation I have with my brother quite a lot, where we both remember something. There'll be a TV show, a series which we watched, and say, "Oh, we remember this." And anytime we speak to anyone else about it, they have no idea what we're talking about. And
Yeah.
for us, it was so vivid because we saw it
Right.
when we were kids.
Right.
There's just a risk. Everything just
Mm-hmm.
disappears.
But you know,
Have you ever thought about making your own series?
I've developed characters here and there. Here's something cool. Well, not I don't know if it's cool or not. Here's a comic book that is. I did this. One day I decided I'm going to do this comic strip, and it was a Facebook only comic strip. And then for a year, these 3 panels where I had like a comic strip out every week. I put a new one out, and it was done. I made a comic book out of it, and it's called Slim Thursday because I put it out on Thursday, and it's basically the story of Slim Whitman, the country singer, and his cat who decided to be an astronaut and went to space. And so it's a Slim Whitman country music space cat adventure that I wrote, and it's got guest stars in there like Neil deGrasse Tyson and, and weird things like that. So
It's most
anyway,
definitely cool. I can I can confirm that that is cool.
that's fun, and that's just something I did, and then I just kind of invited some people to like that page, and then people would say, "Man, comic strip, you got a comic strip?" And I was like, "Yeah." So the 30 people who enjoyed that for a year enjoyed it for a year, but it was something I said, "Hey, I'll do it." So
Try it out for a little bit and then
yeah,
move on a little bit.
and the Ratfink stuff, I've drawn. I'm licensed to draw Ratfink, which means I can draw and sell Ratfink drawings.
I was going
And
to ask about that.
um, and a portion of that, a tenth of that, goes to the Roth estate from Big Daddy Roth. He's gone now, but his estate. I actually deal with his widow, and she kind of runs all the artist things. But there's a number of artists, I don't know how many, who are licensed. You kind of contact them and say, "Hey, I love Ratfink, and here's what my stuff looks like." And if they like it, they'll approve you to do it. So that's what happened there. This is a Ratfink painting I did, which is a Lost in Space Ratfink thing, where so he's like Will Robinson there. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I've got a bunch of Ratfink drawings and stuff, and I can draw them and just throw a sketch on eBay, and if make a quick $50 or $60 there, or I could really get into it and try to make some money, but I haven't done that. It's still, draw when I feel like what I feel like drawing. So
I wanted to ask, like, because obviously I'd seen that you were licensed for Ratfink, of just kind of what prompted you to reach out to it and go about that. And I would never even think of it. Like, oh, you can reach out, so maybe I should. But yeah,
it was a surprise to me, but I'm when I was a kid, we had Ratfink toys and model kits, and this is like the old classic Ratfink model kit that you would buy and put together. So this is one I bought, put together and painted, and I gave myself one Christmas, and I gave my brother-in-law one, and so then I was just kind of because like we remembered having the toys and the models when we were kids, and so then I was kind of digging around the Ratfink website, and then there's like a tab at the top that says licensing, and you click on it, and it says, "Hey, you want to be a Ratfink artist? Send us some information, and maybe you'll be a Ratfink artist." So I said, "Well, hey, like I love Ratfink, I love lowbrow art. A lot of those people in the Ratfink community are what's called custom culture, so it's all cars and hot rods and stuff like that. But really, I come at it from the toy end of it, from when I was a kid. When we had those toys. So that's how I said, "Hey, can I be a Ratfink artist?" And they I don't know, 3 months later, emailed me and said, "Hey, be a Ratfink artist." So I made it where I would be a Ratfink artist an official Rat Fink artist on my birthday that year as a birthday present to myself. So I gave myself a Christmas present of a Rat Fink toy and a birthday present for being an artist. So.
People not buy you presents, Jess. That's why you need to keep giving yourself.
You would think so, wouldn't you? Actually, people buy me geeky stuff, that they know I like. They buy me Batman stuff. So
I feel like that might become a problem after a while, of where you have so many interests and people just keep giving you stuff, and you're like, where do I put it all? Like,
right. It is an issue. I'm not turning this camera. I mean, I think if I were to move, you'd see that I've got Robbie the robot, and I got whatever, Mr. T Bank back here.
I was gonna say, is that Mr. T?
yeah, and he's wearing a couple of things like a little crab headband thing that on his head there. But got Iron Man. I got Alf over here, and so yeah, I'm out of room for stuff to answer your question. I won't turn this thing around because I'm in a room out in the garage that I have my drawing table set up. It's packed with unfinished projects, materials to do, sculpting and casting and painting and musical instruments, and it's just a big mess. I got the Captain Lovehandles suit hanging on the wall there. It's like I'm in the Batcave, because I got Batman has this. We have a bat suit there in a little case. I don't have a case, but I've got like this mannequin that hangs on a wall, and he's wearing the Captain Lovehandles costume, and there's the Captain Lovehandles mask right here. So some podcasts I've been Captain Lovehandles, so I decided not to make you watch me in the Captain Lovehandles suit today.
I mean, there was part of me which thought, I don't know who I'm getting today.
I know it. I'm going to be a guest on. There's a YouTube show that I sometimes contribute to. It's Rebby Rye. It's REBBIE RYE. And what it is, it's this lady, and it's a kids singing and art programs in the art room with Rebby Rye. So I sometimes will go on as Captain Lovehandles and teach kids how to draw. The last time we did birds wearing hats or something, and this time for Christmas, I think I'm showing how to draw an elf, or something like that. So for it's really juvenile for little kids, but she's a sweetheart, and so I appreciate her having me on. So
it's always worth passing on kind of creative knowledge to kids as well. I think.
I
I don't have kids, and I don't have kind of younger cousins, so I never really see what kids get entertainment wise anymore, but obviously what makes it through to mainstream culture. Like, I know Bluey's a big thing for a lot of people,
right.
And I watch a lot of Bob's Burgers, but that's just because I'm slightly addicted to it. But yeah, I never really see it, whereas I feel like when I was younger and generations were younger before me, passing on creative stuff, and there was a lot of creative shows. There were shows about how to create. There were shows about how to draw, like Art Attack and all these kinds of things. And I don't know if that still kind of continues now, or whether that's dominated by YouTube.
It may be. I've got a nephew, my nephew's son, who's 8, I think, and he draws every night, and he goes on these YouTube show you how to draw dinosaurs. He wants to draw dinosaurs all the time, and it's pretty incredible the stuff. But they do step by step how to do it, and I think some of these things they have a million kids watching those things and drawing dinosaurs. So, and my nephew said, you could do that and show how to draw stuff, and it could be big. And I was like, I'm so behind on everything. I've always got a project or something I've committed to. I often say yes when I shouldn't say yes to projects. And so right now it's not too bad. I've got like 3 things I need to do. There's 2 album covers and 1 t-shirt design that I'm kind of need to get done. And other than that, I can just work at my pace. So
do you find that your work changes when you have a deadline, or your enjoyment of it? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't think I don't see that being the case. I mean, people often contact me because they like my style or like what I do, and so I can't see that that's changed in a while either. My style really. I mean, if you've noticed, I've been doing paintings lately, but I don't consider myself a painter, but that's just kind of a fun thing. But really, I love drawing ink on paper and black and white ink drawings, and so. And my style hasn't changed in a long time. Now the way I've done it has changed. Years ago, I kind of had a brushed style, but I did it by drawing double lines and filling in and kind of making it look brushed. And I had an art friend who said, yeah, we all did that. But it's been, I don't know, 10 years or more that I've been working with Pentel Pocket Brush, which is a brush pen, and found I really love it. And it's kind of become my style. So it hasn't really changed. Whether I do black and white or whether I do color, maybe that's the difference. But sometimes yeah, sometimes just create. But
yeah, I was going to say, I did notice that your line work and style is it's obvious it's you when you make something. Like, regardless of medium that you go through, I noticed this, like, it's very consistent that it's your style, and I wouldn't see anyone else doing it, which I kind of love, because you've like you say, you're exploring painting, you're exploring different things. I'm like, yeah, but this is definitely coming from you.
Right. And this, these are one of my sketchbooks here, and so they have that ink style. There's Sarsaparilla, the singing gorilla there. He plays a bass, and so he's writing. So that's kind of a Jack Kirby looking thing, but still with my brush style. And I use my sketchbook to try and explore things. Like here, I was trying to see if I could use the brush style like that, like the pen style to do the Northern Lights like that, and I think it turned out kind of cool. I was doing that for something I was going to need them for, and these flower horse characters that I kind of like a lot. So anyway, there's
so much depth to the characters. Like,
well, I've got some that have no depth. This guy here. Look at that. That guy's name.
I'm like, this instantly a backstory.
His name is Snanky, and he's like a half snake, half monkey. So that's all it is. And I made it like an Olin Mills photograph. So, but I've done some drawings like of Snanky, and just like, here's another drawing of Snanky. I don't know why I keep drawing Snanky. This is one I like. This is I was riding home from work and listening to classical music, and in the Hall of the Mountain King happened to be on. So I kind of had the idea of, in the Hall of the Mountain Oyster King. You know what mountain oysters? They're actually bull testicles that people eat. And so this is the Hall of the Mountain Oyster King, and it's a bull testicle king. And that's kind of what they look like. And he's saying ballin'. So anyway, weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of depth, even when it's just like a simple, I don't know, simple premise,
right?
That you manage to put some I don't know, character level to it. It's not like when someone just says, "Oh, I'm going to draw a horse," so they draw a horse and it looks like a horse. To be able to just give something a personality is I feel like, I don't know, it's rarer now, because a lot of people go for so very specific realism or style, and it loses some personality to it.
I did a couple of gallery showings of my drawings a few years back. And that was really gratifying for people who came out and enjoyed, and bought some little stuff here and there. And that was a lot of fun. I also had this is another passion. Kind of, there's some things that always keep popping back up in my drawings, and sometimes the characters I created. It's always going to be Sarsaparilla, the singing gorilla, for some reason. And future folk is another thing. Please tell me you're familiar with the history of future folk.
I have seen the film Future
Have
Folk,
you really?
Did you know? Yeah.
This is I illustrated the official Future Folk coloring book.
I didn't know that. That's
which
crazy.
you can get on Amazon. And so it's got, stuff like this. Future folk drawings that you can color.
I saw the photo of you in the hat, and I just assumed you were a fan of it.
Got to connect. Some of the drawings are references to their songs, because they have a couple albums. Some are from the movie, and like here's Mighty Kevin returning to Hondo to bring music back to the masses there in Hondo. And so anyway, I've kind of become an honorary Hondonian. So I've gotten to know a little bit, gotten to know both those guys. Yeah, I have my Hondonian helmet back there in the back. It's probably not even. Yeah, there we go, right there. So if you, and now it used to be, I found it on Netflix, the movie, and then it was gone from Netflix, and then it was back, and now it's gone. But I think some sort of licensing has run out, so now you can see the whole thing on YouTube. So it's the Future Folk YouTube channel, and you can go watch the movie there.
You have, there's so much you just do.
That's true. It's just so much. Sometimes it is so much.
Is that like an issue of, I don't know, do you ever find yourself fighting yourself in terms of what you want to do next?
I don't. I find myself finishing something sometimes and sitting around waiting for an idea and not worrying about it, because I can always watch football or baseball or something like that, you know. But I don't find myself, I'm not wringing my hands over what am I going to do next. And one thing the sketchbooks have done is sometimes I'll start drawing with no idea what the drawing's going to be.
Yeah.
And a few times, like those horses that have flowers for heads, you know, I end up being something I really like and want to explore more and stuff. But sometimes if I'm dry, I'll just pull out a sketchbook, make a couple lines, and go from there. Draw a robot because I like drawing robots, and then I'll draw a frog in that drawing or whatever, and wind up with some new friends. How about that?
Yeah, you can always draw new friends.
Yeah.
I said that to some people I work with, and they seemed a little concerned.
Yeah. You know, when I was still buying comic books, and then I hit like 50, and I was like, nah, I'm 50, and you know, I'm gonna have to chill out on the comic book buying and stuff, you know. But I still enjoy them. You know, if Mike Allred does something, I'm going to buy his work, or there's some artist because I just love their art. And so I had pretty much quit. And then when Mike Allred started drawing Silver Surfer, I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick this up. And it was kind of like Doctor Who, because he kind of had a companion, and it was a pretty cool run, actually. Plus his art's so beautiful.
Yeah. I think that's I don't know if that's a thing which comes with age, that you kind of suddenly stop yourself from buying things and start to try to take some time and read the stuff you have, so to speak.
Right. Or think, or now think, you know, who's going to be stuck with all this crap, you know, one day, and they don't, for one thing, they don't know what it is, and they won't know how to get rid of it. So I give away a ton of art to people who I think might enjoy it. So I would love for my survivors to have a box at my funeral of all this art and pens and magnets and things I've done, and say, free, take one, or free, take 10, because there's a crap load of it. So anyway.
I think I'm kind of going the other direction, where I'm very much along the lines of, I need to accumulate things which would confuse people when I'm trying to clear my estate. When they find
I got no problem with that.
Like, why does he own this?
No problem there. What was I was digging about? I got rid of a bed not too long ago, right. And underneath was some things I don't even remember this, and this is it right here. I mean, this is like an old Marx Spider-Man toy. I mean, even when I was in college, there wasn't Spider-Man stuff you could buy in the store like you can now. There was like the little parachute Spider-Man guy. I got a couple of Spider-Man gumball machines that are from the early 80s or whatever, but I mean, it wasn't like going to Target now and walking down that aisle where they have all the action figures. And it wasn't until the Secret Wars miniseries when Marvel really came out with some quality action figures, you know, and those are great action figures. I sold a bunch of them and did okay and did real well. But my son, who's grown, who has children, he actually sent me a text, or said to me a year or two ago, how much he appreciated that we were cracking open some of those toys and we were playing with them together, you know? So yeah, some of those toys we could have sold, but I took some of those Star Wars figures that we like so much, opened them up, and he had a Megatron, which was a Transformers. It was made into a tank, and it had projectiles, and we'd line the action figures up and mow them down with the tank, and you know. And he just said that was a cool thing, you know. Those action figures, I know you liked them, but to open them up and you know let a 4-year-old play with them, you know, that was a cool thing.
I mean, that's
And
what they're made for. Like,
exactly. There's one of our local rock bands here, Driving and Crying, has a song, "The toy never played with is not a toy at all." And that's kind of, I agree with that.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting meeting people like yourself who have such a kind of a huge interest and investment in, you know, toys and comics and all these extra things, which obviously kids love.
Hmm.
So it's fairly easy for you to pass on that stuff knowledge wise and say, hey, we
Right.
can play with this and we can do this. Whereas from kind of my background, my parents were never really interested in it. But there was these like little pocket moments of my childhood where they understood the culture and they understood what was going on and they got us something and then it made it so special
Hmm.
that we'd received it. And when I meet people from, I think it's the same with music as well, where you have similar music interests to your parents. It's it's a great connection to have. Like,
Right.
yeah,
I think so. And my son, when he was a teenager, he really loved punk music, and I really love punk. I like punk and grunge. And so, like one night he came to me and I think he had watched some show or listened to a podcast, and it was Henry Rollins, and Henry Rollins had said that Dinosaur Jr. was one of his favorite bands, and so my son goes, "Don't you have a couple Dinosaur Jr. albums?" And I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." So we, you know, to know that he loves Husker Du and he loves Dinosaur Jr. and whatever Agent Orange, or you know, there are some all that those old Sub Pop and those those bands, the SST bands. I love those guys. You know, Nirvana was on Sub Pop. They weren't an underground band of the '90s because they went major labels so early on in their career. But there were other bands like Flipper that are just. Are you familiar with Flipper? I mean, it's
of them.
so,
But
so bad it's awesome. I mean, I love it. So anyway, I love that stuff.
it's interesting as well, like those kinds of genres and the type of like lowbrow it stayed so consistent. I
Mm-hmm.
think within, you know, decades have been removed from kind of that time when it like emerged,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's everyone you meet from that, like I can meet anyone from that kind of musical background and I'd say something about, you know, lowbrow art and they've heard of it, they know of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that would easily lead into a conversation about collectibles or pop culture or whatnot. And I
Right.
think it's interesting to see how that vein of creativity just kind of continues. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I feel like it, like a lot of other ones kind of daff it out, like disco or whatever,
Right.
whereas this one just keeps going.
Yeah, Ricky and Bambi, who are in the band with me, they're in a bunch of different bands, and so they're in this
Hmm.
'90s cover band. And so I was telling Ricky, I said, I like, you know, if I'm going to go see a '90s cover band, I want to hear Naked Ray Gun and Mission of Burma, you know. And he was like, yeah, but nobody's going to pay us to come play Mission of Burma, you know, because nobody's going to know what it is, you know. But I would enjoy it.
I'll enjoy it. And
Yeah.
that's the joy of it. Again, like, yeah, as we kind of say, I think one of the reasons I wanted to chat to you is just because you seem to just get such enjoyment out of things.
I'd say that's
Like,
true.
yeah.
Good. Do
And
you
yeah,
do you interview a lot of people who just hate everything? You try
yeah, I
not to,
have.
have you? Yeah, we know those people, don't we?
Mhm.
Uh, but anyway, yeah, I mean, that's what I do. I I do things that I enjoy. So, and if I put them out there, I'm saying, hey, I thought this was good enough for you to see. So I hope you like it. Now, sometimes I'll say, I know it's not good enough for you to see, but still, it's weird enough. Maybe you'll like it. So, I mean, not everything's a winner.
No, but you know, I think like kind of like you were saying earlier with toys are meant to be played with. I
Hmm.
always think one of the things I try to remind myself of is this idea that the work you make is meant to be seen.
Yeah.
If you draw something, and even if you're not 100% happy of it, it's meant to be seen. You made it initially for a purpose, so
Hmm.
people should see it, and they may think more of it than you do, and you
Right.
can't really control that.
Right.
It might
There's
help.
a girl I know who's a fantastic artist, and she draws so much, but
Mm.
but she doesn't put much of it out there. So when I see her, she's always got her sketchbook, and so I'm like, show me what you've done, so I can marvel at it. But
We got to invest ourselves in other people, what
hmm
they're doing from time to time. You never know what
right,
you'll find.
right,
That's a good message.
yeah, I agree.
I think I don't know. I don't know what your plans are future wise, because you have so many projects on the go. But
And because I'm so stinking old, but I don't know what my plans are future wise either. And I mean, I don't know where I'm going to go with art, to tell you that. Um, I don't know how much I'll do Rat Fink, and I don't know how much I'll do. Gosh, I don't know. I don't plan to to tell people I'm a great painter or anything, but I don't plan not to paint a picture.
is there anything you want to try that you've yet to try?
Um, I've always wanted to do like the woodcut stuff, prints and stuff, but gosh, there's a whole nother setup full of stuff. I'd have to, I've got some stuff to do that, but I haven't done it. As I don't know, I'm doing, anything that pops in my head, I'll do it. So I don't think I don't think there's anything I really regret not having done yet.
That's a good way to live life.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Right.
All right. I think we're at a good point to kind of round this out. I do have a couple more questions for you,
Okay.
just to finish it off, unless you have any questions for me, of course.
No, I'll try not to talk too much. I'll listen to what I'll try to answer your questions.
Okay. I mean, this will be one of the first episodes of next year.
Okay.
So usually I end it with one question, which I'll ask at the end, but I've added another question because I thought this might be a good way to end it. I wanted to ask if, from what you do now,
Hmm.
was this what you wanted to do when you were a kid?
Well, yeah, I think so. And I think, yes, it is. I wanted to be where I am, be, have a family. And a lot of people hate their families. I got a family, and I love them all, and we all love each other. And I've got, the work I do, I enjoy. The art I do, I enjoy. The music I do, I don't do music that I don't enjoy. And so I don't know. I don't know that I sat down and laid out a plan at any point in my life, but I I can't say no. I can't say it's not.
No official plan, but it came out in the end. That's
I think I'll. I think I'll. I think people. I think I'll be satisfied.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you for
So,
that. And my final question is just very simply, who should I speak to next? You were
okay.
recommended to me, so I'm willing to go and chat to whoever next. So
Okay. I. If you haven't spoken with Dennis Ball, he would be a great one. He's a talking tennis ball, and and he has a show. It was like the Dennis Ball show, dad joke game show, and it's turned into Dennis Ball rock docs, and so it's more about music and rock and stuff. He's real knowledgeable about a lot of things, and he's also. I've been on his show a few times. Originally, when we were on the show, he was like a tennis ball with a hand that was making him talk, but now he's a little more high tech than that now. But I would say the next person, he's super interesting, would be Dennis Ball, and I can send you his email address.
fantastic. I will happily reach out to
Mm,
to find more people like yourself.
there you go.
But that's what I want to do with this year is just explore more and more people. So
Great.
that's all we can do. But it's been lovely to speak to you, Jess.
It's been wonderful.
Been too strenuous.
No, it hasn't been strenuous at all. It's been very enjoyable. Maybe there'll be some people who understand your accent and some that will understand mine, and they'll and and they can
Only somewhere in the middle.
communicate and say this is what he was saying. So I've been told. I don't think it's true. I've been told I have something of a southern accent. So
It's like a little also. I mean,
yes,
I
I
kind of
could have
sound
tried.
like I live on the east coast of the US.
Right, right.
So that sounds perfect. All right. Well, I shall leave links for people to find you. It's been
Okay,
lovely to speak to you, Jess. And if
indeed.
there's nothing else to say, we shall call it that.
That'll be fine. Been wonderful
Talk to your
talking
kids
with you.
later. You too. All right. Let's
All right.
close it there.